This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
"2021 was a fantastic year for Africa, with their sporting heroes winning big and world-class events staged on the continent. Asiya Mohamed Sururu became the first Kenya para-rower to take on waters at the Tokyo Paralympic Games, and Egypt set a new national record of 6 medals at an Olympic Games and are hoping to build on it at Paris 2024. Hi there, sports fans. Welcome into your weekly dose of sports scene. And yes, we've got you covered. It's another fascinating, intriguing, and tantalizing show. I'm Richard Nta in Nairobi. This is your sports scene. Put on your seatbelts, buckle up, get ready. Let's get started. Here's what's coming up in the show. Also to come on the show, the Safari Rally made its return on the WRC calendar, to the joy of many motorsport fans on the continent. Well, welcome in. Just like that, Sports Scene is on the air. All those other stories just ahead. But first, let's start with Asiya Mohamed Sururu, the first Kenya female para-rower to compete at the Paralympics when she took to the waters at Tokyo 2020. The 29-year-old, who is also an exceptional wheelchair tennis player, aims for more success in both disciplines in 2022. CGTN's Mohamed Abubakar has her story.
Asiya Mohamed, a double amputee, became the first female rower to represent Kenya at an Olympic or Paralympic Games. The 29-year-old had a challenging run-up to the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics. Lack of sufficient training equipment and the COVID-19 lockdown meant she did not have ample preparations for the Games. Nevertheless, Asiya described her experience in Tokyo as a stepping stone for growth.
It was the best feeling and most terrifying at the same time. You see, I was like in the middle and surrounded by very highly professional rowers. So I was like, okay, I am here. Let's just do it. Yeah, but the whole experience has been very educative to me.
Just 2 weeks after leaving Tokyo, the multi-talented Asiya, who is also a wheelchair tennis player, hit the courts. In November, she participated in both singles and doubles competitions at 2 tournaments in France. She then went on to win a doubles medal at a Puma engineering tournament in Lagos, Nigeria in December. She is ranked 105th in singles and 74th in doubles, and says both tennis and rowing have improved her fitness.
The exercises are all the same. It's all about upper body with wheelchair tennis. And it's equivalent to rowing. It's all about upper body flexibility of the hands. So I'm actually doing the right training for both, but I know they'll reach a time that I will concentrate with one.
Asiya finished 12th in para-rowing at Tokyo 2020. Her ambition now is to qualify for the next Paralympics in Paris and improve on her performance.
Paris 2024, almost next, just 1 year from next year. So I'm planning to train in Europe, where Para Foundation took me before the Tokyo 2020. So I contacted them and I told them if I could row for their club, continue the rowing practice, and they're like, it's okay, you can come anytime.
Asiya's resilience and dedication is what took her to Japan for the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics. She now hopes that 2022 will bring her more success, be it on the water or the tennis court. Mohamed Abubakar for CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.
Well, the 2020 Tokyo Summer Olympics saw Egypt make a new national record. Team Egypt this year won an unprecedented 6 medals. The Egyptian record includes the country's first gold medal beyond wrestling and weightlifting, the 2 most medal-winning sports for Egypt. Now, as the year comes to an end, the Egyptian Olympics Committee has bigger dreams for the next Summer Games in Paris. And here's CGTN's Adal Alfmafroui with more.
Making history in the Tokyo 2020 Olympics was clearly the mission for the Egyptian Olympics Committee. New national records were made even before the Games began. With 145 athletes competing in a record 23 different sports, this was the biggest Olympic delegation in Egypt's history.
We have put, as I said before, many targets. 3 targets in particular were the most important ones, and they were qualifying with the biggest number of athletes to Tokyo 2020, which was postponed for a year and played in 2021. And the second target was qualifying in the biggest number of sporting events, which we have also achieved. And the third target was the medal count.
That too was achieved. Egypt won 6 medals in 4 sports, breaking its 5 medals record reached in Athens 2004, London 1948 and Berlin 1936. Remarkably, Ferial Ashraf won gold in karate, the first top podium stand in a sport other than weightlifting and wrestling, Egypt's 2 most winning Olympic disciplines.
In karate, we knew that we had 4 players qualify, and we hoped to have 3 medals. One of our players did not reach the semi-final, which is Ali, and this was a disappointing result for him, especially that in the World Championship a couple of months after the Olympics, he got the gold medal. And we expected Ferial Ashraf and Gianna Farouk to reach the medal because they were in the top 4 ranked in the world.
Egypt could have made a bigger Olympic achievement this year had it had its weightlifting team in Japan. But a doping scandal forced the International Weightlifting Federation to ban the National Federation from the sport for 2 years.
This was a missed opportunity for Egypt. 2 guaranteed medals were lost. Mohamed in his weight category, and Sarah Samir. They are guaranteed medals. They are medals from Rio de Janeiro 2016 with 2 bronze medals. They are world champions. They're expected to reach maybe a silver and a bronze in Tokyo.
Egypt has never won a team sport medal in the Olympics. In Tokyo, however, the country was closer than ever.
We were hoping that we reach a higher level in football. We lost in the quarterfinal to Brazil 1-0, which is a good result actually. We cannot blame them. Brazil went to win the gold medal at the end. In handball, our team reached the semi-final. Were beaten in the 3rd and 4th or the bronze match position by Spain with a difference of 1 or 2 goals, which was also a very good result for us.
Egypt is planning for bigger achievements in Paris 2024. It has a target of at least 10 medals in France, and it will still hope to qualify a bigger number of athletes in more sports than it did in Tokyo. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
Well, the Tokyo Olympics may have come and gone, but in Nigeria, many are still wondering what might have been. One athlete that carried the entire country's hopes for a medal at the Games was sprinter Blessing Okagbare. She had been lighting up the tracks in the build-up to the event with impressive times in the 100 meters. But when the Games finally began, everything came crumbling down for the runner who was once the shining star of Nigerian athletics. Here is CGTN's Deji Badamosi with more on her story.
June 2021, Blessing Okagbare warming up for the Nigerian National Athletics Trials ahead of the Tokyo 2020 Games. She was the biggest star at the event, and her presence alone attracted a sizable crowd to the venue of the trials in Lagos. Having won several medals in track and field in the Olympics, World Championship, Commonwealth and All Africa Games, one item missing in Okagbare's trophy cabinet is an Olympic medal in the 100 meters. And so many felt Tokyo 2020 was when she would finally achieve her dream in the 100 meters women's event.
Training has been going well, everything you've been doing, and that result came. So we'll see what we can do to improve and probably run faster, repeat the same time, and see how we can. Now it's focusing on getting on the podium in Tokyo.
She would indeed make it to Tokyo, but for the podium, she didn't even come close. After making it through her heat to the semi-final of the women's 100 meters race, Okagbare's Olympic dream suddenly unraveled. The Athletics Integrity Unit AIU announced she had failed a drug test by allegedly taking human growth hormone. She was immediately suspended from the Olympics. She was also due to compete in the 200 meters, as well as the 4x100 meter relay. But all of that came to naught with the suspension.
We were all crestfallen. We were disappointed. It was, that if she had run in that semi-final, the probability that she was going to get into the final was very high.
It didn't end there for Okagbare. The AIU would later announce that she had also tested positive for the banned substance EPO in another test. She was also accused of refusing to cooperate with investigations on the 2 failed tests.
What happened to Okagbare is actually a tragedy of a nation. The whole world crashed on her just as she was about picking up. She was the brightest hope we had to win any medal in athletics.
The World Athletics governing body is yet to determine Okagbare's case, but if she is found guilty eventually, she faces the prospect of a very lengthy ban. And at the age of 32, her chances of making a comeback in the future are very slim.
I don't see Blessing coming back really, because this is already taking a toll on her psychologically, and nobody will want to end a glorious career this way. And I feel for her, and I doubt if she could come back at 37.
Okagbare, look at this. Oh, Madison got it, I think, and Okagbare of Nigeria was there as well.
DG Bademasi, CGTN, Lagos.
Well, the action continues on sports scenes. Don't go away. Here's what's ahead. Coming up, Safari Rally made its return on the WRC calendar to the joy of many motorsport fans on the continent.
The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Kanata, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference. How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find your game.
Welcome back to Sports Scene. Thanks for sticking with us. Although the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup qualifiers in Harare were called off midway due to travel bans imposed on Zimbabwe over fears about the COVID-19 Omicron variant, women's cricket in the Southern African country is still on a high. CGTN's Fry Mwakatuya has more.
2021 has been an historic year for Zimbabwe women's cricket. After attaining one-day international status in April, the Lady Chevrons marked their debut with victory over Ireland in October. Skipper Marianne Musonda scored an unbeaten century.
It's a huge milestone, you know. I think every night from that night I always think about it. It's something that gives me pleasure. It's something that helps me in those moments that I'm not really performing well, that, you know, it will come right.
Though the series ended in defeat, the foundations for success in the future were laid.
There's obviously some room for improvement in the overall game sense, fitness, in all departments of our game. But I think we showed a lot of character and we showed a lot of potential that probably we are ready for those international matches.
Regular matches against quality opposition will help the team get better as will more domestic competition, which will widen the talent pool from which the national team can draw.
In line with what the ICC is trying to do as well in terms of growing women's cricket, we've also done the same thing. We've also looked to grow our women's cricket. For example, they've had a domestic season for the first time this last season. They actually had domestic teams, 4 teams that played in the league.
Some of its top players were part of Zimbabwe's ill-fated bid to gain World Cup qualification on home soil. Harare Sports Club was meant to be hosting the closing stages of the Women's Cricket World Cup qualifiers as we speak, but all that was brought to a premature halt by the pandemic. It's a stoppage that the Lady Chevrons hope will be temporary as they aim for a quick return to action to prepare to chase down their next target.
Next year we have another set of qualifiers, the T20 Global qualifiers, another stage, a stage away from the World Cup, but the shorter version, the T20. We are now channeling our energy towards that.
Prior to that, the second edition of the domestic league will allow more talent to make a case to be included in the national squad. Farai Mwakutuya, CGTN, Harare, Zimbabwe.
Kenya had a successful 2021, having hosted several world-class sporting events, but none came bigger than the WRC Safari Rally. The Safari was making its return to the WRC circuit after a 19-year hiatus, and it left a huge mark across the world and left motorsports enthusiasts yearning for more. Here's CGTN's Asiya Tal with more.
It had been close to 2 decades since the last time Kenya's iconic Safari Rally featured in the WRC calendar. So when the country's president flagged off the cars for the 2021 edition in Nairobi, excitement gripped the nation. Fans thronged the capital to witness the opening special spectator stage that was held at the Kasarani International Stadium on the 24th of June. Vehicles then headed to Naivasha, where the majority of the competition took place from Friday through to Sunday. The drivers not only had to negotiate the tough and rough terrain, but also had to be wary of the wildlife.
To be honest, it was a really great experience and I was enjoying it. I've never seen that before, to be honest. The rally, the people living here, the feeling you have inside on the road section. There is many people watching us, say hello with photo. It's just really good.
And the return of the rally to the WRC saw the Toyota Works team reign supreme, with French driver Sébastien Ogier emerging victorious.
You know, I think Rally Kenya didn't disappoint. It was a very challenging event for everybody with a lot of actions. Many things happened, and I think we can be happy to come out as a winner.
I'm very proud because this was in the 90s and the 80s. This event was the most important single event in the championship for Toyota, and now coming back to win this rally since 1994. It's been a long time, and return to Safari for the first time, and we are able to win it. So for sure it has a great value for Toyota.
The local drivers also put on a show, with Kenyans filling the podium in the WRC3 category. It saw the trio finish inside the overall top 10, a remarkable feat for the host nation.
As an experience, one of the hardest, one of the greatest, one of the most, I think, emotional weekends I've ever experienced. And to come away with the win and get WRC points, our name's there now in the news, in the history, so maybe I can retire. No, that won't happen anytime soon.
The last day of the event was graced by the Kenyan president, who would later make a major announcement.
It therefore gives me great pleasure to announce today that we have agreed with the International Automobile Federation, as well as the World Rally Championship, to continue hosting the Safari Rally in Kenya every year until the year 2026.
As the dust settled on the 2021 WRC Rally, many were left asking for its extended stay in the global calendar beyond 2026. Asiya Tal, CGTN.
We're just getting warmed up here on Sports Scene. Much, much more to come. Here's what's ahead. In football, Pitso Mosimane's continental success with Al Ahly earning him plaudits.
You're watching breaking news on CGTN.
Welcome to the world today on CGTN.
Welcome back to Sports Scene. We appreciate your company. The first sub-Saharan African coach to coach an Egyptian team has so far performed wonders. Pitso Mosimane has won 4 back-to-back continental titles with Al Ahly, 2 CAF Champions League, and 2 CAF Super Cup trophies. Now, 3 of those trophies were won in 2021. CGTN's Adel Al-Maroui brings us the story of the South African who has taken Cairo by storm.
The first indigenous African to coach Al Ahly is so far doing miracles. Pitso Mosimane has won 2 consecutive CAF Champions League and CAF Super Cup titles and the Egyptian Cup. All that in just 15 months since he was appointed to the Red Devils' hot seat in October 2020. His achievements in such a short time have impressed both Al Ahly's fans and foes.
It was a courageous move from Al Ahly to hire him. I think both are very lucky to have each other. They have won many titles so far. He's a football mastermind. In some matches they'd play really bad, but managed to win the game at the end, just like what happened in the last Super Cup.
I was extremely concerned when they hired Mosimane. All fans were. He came in the Champions League semi-finals, and that was a risky move. He surprised us. When you look at his numbers and statistics with Al Ahly, he's great.
Out of the 74 matches Mosimane has been in charge at Al Ahly so far, the team has won 53, drawn 16, and lost only 5. Having won the 2016 Champions League with Mamelodi Sundowns, Mosimane is now the most decorated African coach in the history of the competition. He's only 1 behind the Portuguese coaching legend Manuel José, who won Al Ahly 4 titles.
Those who are following Pitso Mosimane could have expected his outstanding performance. 8 years with Sundowns, he has made an African champion out of nothing. He, however, was the most suitable coach for Al Ahly at that time. René Weiler, the Swiss coach, had left. The club needed a coach who understood Egyptian players and African competitions.
Before he came to Cairo, Mosimane knew how to beat Egyptian teams. He snatched the 2016 Champions League title from Zamalek and gave Al Ahly their worst defeat since 1942, losing 5-1 to Sundowns in 2019.
العيب الوحيد اللي فيه في وجهة نظري انه بيتأثر بالسوشيال ميديا يعني انت لو لاحظت ان هو في الفترة الأخيرة
His only flaw is that he gets affected with social media and the criticism he gets off these platforms. He hesitates. He could respond to critique. A campaign would ask, why do you have this player? He then makes that player play. It is a normal issue though. He's leading the biggest team in Africa, which is a dream for all coaches. In the past, Al Ahly coaches are either foreigners or the sons of the club. No other Egyptian, Arab or African has coached the team before.
In 2022, Mosimane will be focusing on the 2 domestic titles he didn't manage to win in 2021, the Egyptian Premier League and Super Cup.
Pitso Mosimane has had a great start to this season's Egyptian Premier League, winning all of his first 6 matches and scoring 18 goals. The South African coach has given Al Ahly both their worst defeat and their best football year yet. And it was a little over a year into his contract, it appears that there are many victories and records on their way. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
The partial return of fans in stadiums have been viewed as a major win for sport on the African continent in 2021. The year began with the CAF Africa Nations Championships in Cameroon with reduced stadium capacity. Many other countries followed suit over the year. Here's CGTN's Mohamed with more.
2021 saw the return of major sporting events and competitions after lockdowns were imposed to contain the global pandemic. For majority of the first half of the year, fans were barred from entering stadiums as Africa battles the first, second and third COVID waves. But midway through 2021, African nations began to partially open stadiums to spectators. In October, after over a year of anguish, the Kenyan government officially lifted the stadium ban, allowing fans up to 2/3 of venue capacity back in the stadiums.
It is important for sports as an industry to have fans there because those are the ones who drive in the money. It feels weird even actually to play in front of fans for a long time, but we want to thank the government for allowing fans to come back to sports.
Rugby diehards were the first sporting supporters to lap up the return to stadiums in Kenya. In late October, the 23rd edition of the annual Invitational Safari Sevens returned with a bang in Nairobi after being postponed last year. Assistant captain of the Kenya Sevens team, Jeff Oluoch, hailed the return of spectators, saying it's what players and fans have longed for.
Always having the fans in the stands is always a major boost in terms of just getting the adrenaline up there. As a player, talking from a player's perspective, it's a major boost in encouraging the players to step out of the field and just give their best out there. In terms of the fans as well, most of people longed to watch rugby live. Most of them were bored watching the games from the telly because 1 year of not watching rugby live can be quite depressing.
The return of spectators to stadiums has been a huge step forward as the continent continues to recover from the effects of the pandemic. With 2022 promising to have a packed sporting schedule, fans will be looking forward to filling the stands again to cheer on their favorite athletes and teams. Mohamed Abubakar for CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.
Well, that's it for this edition of Sports Scene. Remember, you can send us your feedback to the contacts on the screen and follow us on digital media platforms. We leave you with some of the major African and world sporting events to look forward to in 2022.